Good evening, everyone. I call this city council meeting to order. We have one person for the open forum. Sarah, would you please come forward? Hi, it's good to see you. And right up to that mic there. And speak right into it. And introduce yourself, please.
My name is Sarah Gumke, and I'm a member of the Human Rights Commission here. And we wanted to let everyone know about an event that we have coming up. It's on May 16th. It's a Saturday at 9:30. The presentation will start. The doors open at 9 a.m. and it's here in the council chambers. It's going to be an informational meeting with a speaker on the topic of human trafficking. And so I think it's going to be a really beneficial, a lot of good information about how human trafficking impacts Minnesota as a whole and also municipalities here. The event is being co-sponsored by the Minnesota League of Women Voters as well as the Human Rights Commission. So we're really excited. We have a speaker from the Advocates for Human Rights, and it's just open to the public. And so I wanted to invite everybody, and I'll formally invite the council as well. And if you have any questions, you can let someone from the Human Rights Commission, we can find out answers for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is very timely, a lot of conversation going on and legislation passing about that. So thank you very much. Would everybody please stand and join us in the pledge up here? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask the approval of the minutes of the Special City Council and Housing Redevelopment Authority work session of April 14th, 2015.
So moved.
And the regular City
Oh,
Council
okay.
meeting of April
ready.
14th, 2015.
I'll second then.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carries. We have several presentations tonight. We will start with a presentation by our Richfield Public Schools Superintendent, Steve Yanowski. And he's handing out some wonderful pieces of information. Come on up to the podium and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm excited to be here this evening. Steve Yanowski, Richfield Public Schools Superintendent. Talk a little bit about some of the progress and the goals that we are working on, a little bit about the strategic plan, and talk a little bit about some of the work that we have coming in our future as Richfield Public Schools. Sharing a handout that breaks down some of the work of my first year of the superintendency into two areas. Area one has to do with achievement and their achievement-based goals. And across the entire state of Minnesota, we have a significant focus on data, improving the data and the outcomes for our students. And so as a district, we've set 3 first-year superintendency data goals for our students. One has to do with our graduation rate. And so we are looking to increase our high school course pass rate by 5% or more. By ensuring that more students pass their classes, will help to ensure that our students are prepared for high school and beyond. So our goal over the entire course of the year is 5% gains. Over our first semester, we got a 3.5% gain, and we've added some additional interventions and are continuing to work with our students to ensure that they pass our classes. Now, we also know that it's not just about passing our classes, it's also about being at or above grade level. So we are very focused on increasing our achievement, and in the state of Minnesota, there's the MCA test, and that is based on the standards of the state of Minnesota. And we test students, and we're in the middle of that process right now. We're testing them in both reading, and we're testing them in math. And our goals are to have gains of at least 3% in comparison to previous year's scores for our students. So we want to have more students passing classes, but also more students being at grade level. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm not. No,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Along with those achievement-based goals, there are a whole set of processes, and we've defined these as process goals. And what a process goal really is it's the things that you do to ensure that our achievement is our outcome. Because there are many things that we put into place, and all of the things that we're focused on and working on are things that we believe and are very confident that will ultimately lead to us achieving our achievement goals and greater outcomes for our students. The first has to do with having a systemic evaluation model. QComp is a statewide evaluation and development program for our teacher, and what we do is we ensure that every single teacher in Richfield Public Schools receives at least 3 evaluations over the course of the year. Non-tenured staff get 3 evaluations from an administrator, and all staff are evaluated 3 times, receiving feedback and specific documentation on how effective their instruction is. The entire goal of this process is to ensure that we have the best possible teacher in every classroom. From a data perspective, over the course of the year, there will be 347 evaluations that are due. To date, there are 265 completed and 29 in progress, and so we are on track to achieve our goal of having those evaluations work out. In addition to that evaluation process, we are looking at another significant initiative, which is professional learning communities with all of our licensed staff. And what a professional learning community is it's a team of teachers, and that team gets together to talk about our students' learning. One of the ways that schools have changed from when many of us were there is teaching is not the ultimate goal, student learning is. And so for a teacher to be successful, the students actually have to learn the material. So 68 teams have been organized and are meeting on a weekly or more often basis across every single one of our schools. They talk about not only what they're teaching, but they're talking about are students actually learning it and can we do our jobs more effectively. Process goal 3 is realigning our ALC programming. Despite all these initial interventions, sometimes it's just not working out as well as we would like it to. And alternative learning and ALC programming is additional supports for students who didn't learn it effectively the first time, or that we needed to change our instructional model. We offer after-school programming, summer school programming, and also credit recovery during the course of the day to make sure that our students are having every opportunity to graduate and go on to successful lives and careers. We recognize that we needed to realign our programming. Our partnership with District 287, which is also located in Richfield, has an effective online and actually statewide recognized curriculum. We implemented that across our programs in January of this year, and also have revised our entire summer school to be a more engaging and exciting opportunity for students to learn the same grade level materials in a more effective and engaging way. Process goal 4, in English language learning, so for students who don't necessarily speak English in their home, or for our special education students, the most effective way to ensure that they are actually getting to our grade level standards is to have them in the classroom receiving grade level instruction. Many times what happens with our students, not just in Richfield, but across Minnesota and actually across the country, is those students go to a different classroom and receive different types of instruction. Well, what research will show you is if we don't actually give our students the opportunity to learn the grade level material the first time, they're never going to close the achievement gap and get to where we need them to go. So we're working to increase the number and percentage of students who are coming from English language homes and also who have been identified as special education to receive extra instruction not only in the classroom, but also beyond. And so we're looking at 7.8% gains with our ELL students, or English language learners, and an 11% increase in our special education students. Process goal 5, one near and dear to my heart, is making sure that our students are well fed. Student who is able to have effective nutrition and a full stomach is more effectively able to learn. In schools, we serve breakfast. We actually provide free breakfast to all the students in Richfield Public Schools. We also serve lunch to all of our students. With 4,400 students, we actually serve, this month, we served 4,926 meals a day, which is actually an 11.2% increase over what we had previously been serving. We want to make sure that our students with a USDA positive, effective, nutritious meal are actually getting the opportunity to have 2 of those meals a day in our schools. Additionally, what we noticed is that our lines weren't actually serving our kids most effectively. The average student eating breakfast in school in September missed 6 minutes of instruction. Think about that over the course of 170 student days, and we're looking at an incredible amount of student days missed. So we worked very hard to find more innovative ways for our students to get into class without missing any instruction. Meals on the go. We've opened kiosks around the building so students can take their breakfast at whatever door they enter. So not only has that led to an increase in meals, but also a significant decrease in our instructional time missed. We wanted to, as part of the feedback from our community, implement a transparent budgeting model. So we've been making sure that we have presentations at the school board. We've been having presentations at school, and we've also worked very hard with the Sun Current to talk about how do we fund our schools, why do we fund our schools, and what are we doing with the taxpayers' money. You're going to actually notice, and we're going to be trying to communicate as well as we can, an article we anticipate coming up on Thursday in the Sun Current talking about an upcoming operational referendum levy. So as taxpayers, we are very, very pleased with the support of the Richfield citizens for our Richfield Public Schools. Our most important operational levy will be coming up for a vote in November, and so we're having a conversation with our taxpayers to determine what is the appropriate amount to ask for. asking for renewal of our levy referendum, which will be one of the questions we're going to ask for input on, but you're also going to be asked whether or not an inflationary increase would be appropriate to ask. One of the things we know as a school district is that if the average citizen pays $930 per pupil unit, or a small amount out of their taxes every single year, that money over the course of 10 years actually has less buying power. As we know, $100 today will not buy the same thing as $100 will buy 10 years from now. So what we're going to try to do is gather taxpayer input to determine if that's appropriate to ask and guide what we do in the future, because our referendum dollars and in our transparent budgeting help us to pay for things like reduced class sizes, opportunities to have expanded offerings to prepare our students for college and career in their secondary schools, and additionally ensuring that our students who aren't at grade level get additional teachers, licensed teachers in reading and math. So we look forward to communicating and asking the taxpayers and making sure that in our transparency, we're seeing what is appropriate to ask and partnering with the taxpayer to ensure that we're serving our students and families most effectively. Process goal 7, creating a new district strategic plan and technology plan. You'll note on the back of the handout, we have the process for our strategic plan, where we've actually held over 50 meetings to date. We've drafted new mission statements, new belief statements, and we're actually in the process of a new strategic statements to help guide the work that we do, answering some of the questions about what choices will we make and what will be our top priorities. Top priorities like the most effective licensed teacher in every classroom, and making sure that our students have every opportunity across all of our buildings. Additionally, with our technology plan, we're making sure that we're being good stewards of our taxpayer money. And so our first work with the taxpayer-approved technology referendum from a year ago is to ensure that we have the infrastructure in the background to serve students in the direction that we go to improve student learning. So while it's not the most exciting use of technology funds, what we find is that if we were to add 30 computers to a particular building, those computers at present wouldn't actually work very well because our infrastructure doesn't support. And so as we think about the wireless networks and the things that assist our students in learning most effectively, that's actually the most effective investment for our time and for our money as we begin the process of moving down the road. Process goal 8, improving our district communications and marketing efforts. We've actually had a significantly upgraded, improved website. You'll notice improved marketing outreach. We've added social media and a Twitter feed for our district. We have new brochures and new transition events to not only support our students, but our families as they transition into kindergarten, from 5th to 6th grade, and then also from 8th grade to 9th grade, and finally from 12th grade to their futures beyond. And our last process goal is to ensure that customer service of our operations and our district departments is effective at the end user basis. So one of the things we learned early on in my superintendency is that nothing important actually happens at the district office. It all actually happens in the classroom and within the schools. So one of our mantras for all of our district offices and our operations department is, how are you effectively serving the constituents? Because we have to support our teachers and our principals so that they can support the Richfield students and their families. So I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I will open it up for any questions.
Questions, comments? I had a question about the referenda that's coming up. So if that referenda does come from the school board, when will we see it on the ballot this year in November? Is that the
Yes, it would be
plan?
on the ballot in November, and the school board has currently asked us to put out a survey to the community to determine what the appropriate referendum request would be. And so we're gathering that information prior to any decisions about what that referendum request would be on the ballot for November.
And just to be clear, this is just actually a 10-year referendum that we've already have, and we're just asking it to be brought up again because it keeps the lights on, right? It's operation money.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the end of our 10-year referendum levy, and it would be talking about renewal of that situation.
Okay. Other questions or comments? It's really great to hear what's going on, and I look forward to information when you get test scores and stuff, and you'll come back and talk to us more, won't you?
As soon as the Department of Education for the state of Minnesota allows us, we will be excited to share how our students are doing in achievement. As you note at the top of our page, our student achievement is how we guide our work. That is our goal.
Okay. Council member?
Just one comment on the improved graduation rate. Just want to congratulate you on that. But even more so, congratulate you on not being satisfied. It's really clear that you're bringing a lot of drive to keep the momentum going, and that's just really great for our schools and our city.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, and hopefully you'll be back with more good news.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Okay, I'm gonna go over here.
Okay.
Okay, as most of you know, Mike Eastling will be retiring after working for the city for 35 years. I don't know why you're leaving. Have we treated you badly?
That bad.
No, really, that's commendable, because he was telling me a little while ago, his parents never thought he could hold a job for very long. But Mike, from the bottom of our hearts, you've left your imprint on the city of Richfield, its infrastructure, its future, and you have left Richfield well prepared with the sweet streets, with the prevention of the flooding, with the 77th Street underpass. You have been so instrumental in making Richfield a good, safe, decent place to live. And we really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you. And also your staff. I think that they will miss you greatly. And I hope that you will come and visit us periodically. Mike received the, the American Public Works Director of the Year. And we were very, very pleased with that. Periodically, he's also written in the American Works magazine, which, which is really important, because I think that Richfield tends to be very innovative in terms of the process it uses and how we work the process, both, as we need to work it, and politically as we need to massage it or whatever, so 35 years is a long time. I know that you started working, and Dennis Kraft was your boss, and after Dennis, it was Don Fondrick. A lot of folks don't remember those guys, but I do, and so does Steve, of course. So, and I hope that, you have enjoyed your work and your service to Richfield. I also want to tell you something about, this is probably something that you do not know, that several years ago, Mike's wife was very ill and needed a liver transplant. And Mike happened to be a match. And so they both underwent surgery, and part of Mike's liver went to his wife. And I mean, talk about a love story. That's a real love story. Yeah. Really a real love story. And so they're a happy family, and now Mike wants to spend some time with his grandkids. And at least, and I'm sorry, but I can't resist this, okay? So Mike says to his wife, "I love you with all my heart and liver." I'm sorry. Okay, Mike, would you please come up here? We have a little gift from the council. Maybe you can open it. I'm having a hard time.
Is it going to be worms?
No.
Spring worm.
Oh, it's a bottle of wine. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Sutter Home. I told the mayor to buy a bottle of wine to give him as a gift. Jeez, Debbie.
Throw me under the bus again.
I mean, that's really kind of embarrassing.
Yeah,
But
budget's been
anyway,
cut.
please wait for a minute. Here, my dear, is some Cabernet, and I hope that you and your favorite love of your life enjoy it. And, it goes without saying that we on the council appreciate you. You've done a beautiful job, and we will miss you, and you're certainly welcome back anytime. And we want to wish you Godspeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have to say a couple of things.
Please.
if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, here's part.
Oh, thank you. I just
was thinking, you know, back when a kid from Medford High School was leaving there and wondering how if he could find a career maybe that would make a difference. And I was really blessed, well, with a couple of career path changes along the way, eventually stumbled on engineering, learned how to build a road and learned how to do a water system and drainage systems and whatnot. But what surprised me when I got here is that isn't even half the battle. I mean, working, and it's not a battle, it was learning how to work with, well, the city council, but also commissions and neighborhoods that they're not so much interested in a water system and a road. They wanted to build a city, and together, I think we've been able to figure out a way to make I think with our sweet streets kind of thing, we want to make a better city. We don't want just another road. We're gonna build something really special and build a city. And it's been just a great experience working with you folks and all the people that you have working through your commissions and with the community in general. And I just want to thank, well, what a great staff that there is here at City Hall and certainly out at the Public Works Building, and you guys, you've been so good to work with. It's been really good. And don't worry, they're going to get along without me just fine. There's a lot of really good people out there, and there's some things about what I do. I think they're glad to have me out the door so that they can do some things that they wanted to do. But anyway, it's been a great ride. Thanks a lot.
Take the little bottle too, Mike. That's you know how cheap, you know how, from Debbie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to.
Throw me under the bus, like you usually do. That's okay. Councilmember Howard, you wanted to say a few words?
Sure. I just wanted to thank you, Mike. And I guess I'm the one who's getting shortchanged here a little bit. I've only had a few months to get to know you, Mike. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to get a new council member up to speed. And what a joy it was for me to begin this job, seeing what passion you have for the city. And you've really, you may be leaving here, but what you've left is a vision for the future here in the city. And it's an exciting time, and your fingerprints are going to be all over some exciting stuff that's coming down the road. So thank you very much.
Councilmember, anything else?
Oh, yes.
I will let you.
I think Edwina, when mentioning Mike's feeling about Richfield and leaving good, safe, decent streets and public works, I think the operative words in that is Mike is not a good, but a great, decent human being. And from my perspective, I wrote in the card, and I actually told him what I wrote because I know he's not going to be able to read it, is my first introduction to Mike was at No Name Park when they were talking about building a bicycle path right down Oliver Avenue and closing it off to automobile traffic. And to say I was loud, perhaps even profane, would probably not be a mistake. But Mike was a voice of reason and talked to me calmly, and he's done that for the last 6 years since I've been on the city council. And I appreciate that, and it teaches me a lesson on how to deal with other human beings that may be upset, angry, or otherwise not on the same plane as you are, and that's to stay calm, stay reasoned, and listen to them. And I appreciated that lesson, and I'm still using it, not perfectly, but I'm still using it today, and I appreciate the help you gave me.
Mm-hmm. Councilmember Fitzhenry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. He's been a great mentor, and what I appreciated about Mike, he's not afraid to share his opinion. A lot of times we rely on the expert, and you truly were an expert. And I appreciated the time you spent with me and others on 66th Street to really pull out the maps and show what was going on. And it helped me a lot in making that decision. And so I appreciate it, and I've known you many years, and you've always been a great guy.
I just want to say that it's been really nice having a fellow engineer to have some really, truly great conversations with. And we haven't always agreed, but we've always been really cordial, friendly, and we both learned from each other, I think. And one of the things I was really, the hours you have spent with me and also with Councilmember Elliott, educating us so that when we had to come up against the state or the Met Council or something like this, that we were all together and we knew how to speak to them on their terms. You did a lot of extra work to make that happen, and it's paid off for Richfield. No matter how we've agreed or disagreed, you have always been for Richfield. And you did more than create a city. You created a home. Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't drink all that little bottle of wine at once. Now we're going to go off to a council discussion, and I'm going to again turn it over to Edwina Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. On Friday, we learned some sad news of the passing of Gertrude Ulrich, the matriarch of Richfield civic and political activism. And I say that, and everybody knows that that is the case. The matriarch of Richfield civic and political activism. Gertrude Ulrich was a real pioneer. I mean, she moved here many, many years ago. Her and her husband, Jerry, they bought a house. He had his office in his house, so it was really nice because, you know, the family was brought up and both parents are around, and it really was an unusual, I think, family, because Gertrude was always so involved and so caring about her community. She had 6 kids, and we know that three of them went to Holy Angels and 3 of them went to Richfield High School. And one of the things when, you know, superintendent is here, that is that Gertrude, even though a lot of her kids went to Holy Angels, she was so committed to public education. She was so committed to making sure that that all our kids were taken care of. She and I believe Ernie Lindstrom were co-chairs of the referendum committees. And she was always gung-ho, always. You could always count on her. As a member of the League of Women Voters, Gertrude was instrumental leader in helping fight for our city's water. You know, during that time, you know, Richfield was trying to decide, where are we going to get our water? Where's our source? Do we go to the Mississippi River? Do we do our own wells and aquifers? The League of Women Voters really studied the issue, they worked on it, and they proposed to city officials, this is the way to go, and we would like, you know, to give our blessings and hope that you follow us on this. And they did. And that's why we have the best water in the Twin Cities. The other thing she was instrumental in is planning, in making sure we had a citizens planning commission. You know, very, very important for a municipality that went from a village to a town to a city to a suburb. But she was there to make that happen. Gertrude, when anyone, even any Democrat, thought about running for office, the first person they went to was Gertrude Ulrich. The very first person. Everybody wanted her advice and her guidance. They needed her, and she was always there. She was really an essential ingredient in a winning campaign. And believe me, that's true. She was my first campaign manager. But Gertrude was a real doer. She earned her a reputation with everyone in the city because of her hard work, her research into every topic she studied and believed in, and her love of history. Gertrude was appointed by Governor Rudy Perpich, and she served on the Metropolitan Council. Well, at the Metropolitan Council, you don't see this anymore, even though we are doing well now, but Gertrude knew how to deliver to the communities that she represented. She knew how to communicate and let them know there's this particular program, there's this particular grant, this is going to be happening. And we had a place at the table because of Gertrude Ulrich. And we were heard because of Gertrude Ulrich. And when we moved here in 1972, Gertrude took me under her wing. And, you know, here I was, a kid from New Mexico, didn't really know much, and she decided, you know, well, Edwina needs to get into the political process. At that time, there were not very many people of color in Richfield. So she used her influence to appoint me to the chair's advisory committee for the Met Council. That was, I think it was Commissioner O'Keefe. And then I also served on the Land Use Planning Committee and the Minority Issues Advisory Committee. And everyone in the Minority Issues Advisory Committee, all of those folks that were there were all people of color, all went somewhere. In other words, they all became successful. I learned a lot from Gertrude. She made sure that I had the skills so that I could further my involvement in politics and in community activism. She made sure that whoever came to talk to her or to seek her guidance were going to be public servants and not politicians. Gertrude was not partisan, even though she was a passionate Democrat. And I say that because you never, ever heard her, give anybody advice on how to get the other fellow or how to do this or how to do that. She never did that. She knew how to work with people. She had respect for every voice. And she always said, I know how you think. It's important to know what the other person thinks. It's important for us to get that information because we're not necessarily as smart as we think we are. And she kind of took me by the hand and she made sure that I paid my dues. I was involved in the public school system. I was involved in the Community Services Commission, the Human Rights Commission, the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. She was always there. Now, a lot of you don't know, but in the olden days, Gertrude was a columnist for the Richfield Sun-Current. And she kind of wrote about what's happening in Richfield, what's happening in City Hall, what's happening out in the street. And it was her way, I think, of communicating that, hey, it's okay to get involved in the community because if you do, then this and that and the other will happen. It's your community. Invest in it. That was what she wanted. She was also the first, talk about groundbreaking. She was also the first host of the League of Women Voters Inside the Issues program. This community program went to 5 different communities. And she was the first host. She did a beautiful, terrific job. But then, at one point, a lot of us said, Gertrude, you need to run for office. And she said, no, I don't think so. And anyway, enough of us were her cheerleaders. She ran for the city council, and she won. I then became the host of Inside the Issues, and stayed there until I ran for office. But so Gertrude really loved her pet projects, and that included the Historical Society. It included the Garden Club, the Rotary Club. She was also chair of the Minnesota Cable Communications Board. That was a big deal because she said, I don't have really the technical skills to get into this. I don't really know, but you know, I think people, like I said, she established her reputation because she knew how to do things and how to find information and how to make sure that other people had that same information. In the Richfield Rotary Club, at every birthday that people have, you know, they usually donate however age they are. Well, Gertrude donated $80 when she was 80. And then she always donated, you know, she lived to be 87, but she still only donated $80 because she thought, well, $80, you know, dear Lord, I'm ready anytime you are. And she really felt that way. She knew that she had lived a good life, a successful life, a life that was very enriching, very rewarding, very giving. And those of us that know Gertrude, that knew Gertrude really well, we knew that her number one love were her kids. Her kids. And we were talking about Gertrude last night at the League of Women Voters annual dinner, and someone mentioned that at the time when she became pregnant with Ted Ulrich, that, you know, she was kind of, oh, what's going on here, because she had already said, you know, this is what she was going to do or whatever, and she was just shocked and surprised. And I'll tell you one thing, you know, that was Ted, and please, Margaret, don't repeat this, but you know, a couple of Margaret's kids are in the audience, and I don't want them repeating to the other members of the family. But you know, Ted was indeed her baby. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was just so special. All her other kids, you know, they went to college, they became professional engineers or whatever. Ted went and went to the College of St. Thomas, went to divinity school. He's a doctor. He travels to India. He travels worldwide. He, you know, Gertrude always had him speak at whatever organization she belonged to, because, you know, it so happened that her baby was really special. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways I got to know Ted is because when I worked at the University of Minnesota, he was a student there, and we would take the express bus to the university. Well, as it happened, Sister Charlotte Ann LeClaire, which Steve remembers very well, and Margaret Sevier remembers, she also was a member of League, and so there were times when we would try to rush to see who could sit with Ted. And there was times when I went into work 10 minutes early so I could leave 10 minutes early, because we had different spots where 52G stopped. And I always, because I'm really competitive.
No.
And true. And I always try to make it, you know. And but we had great times. And Ted is just like his mom. Ted's real sensitive, real loving, real caring. And he's the one that, you know, I think most of her Richfield friends know about the most, because you know, he was not only special to her, but he was special to us, and he was our friend too. And I've always appreciated Ted. He last time that I ran, Gertrude hosted a fundraiser for me of all the old, and I'm saying old, I don't mean necessarily in age, DFL women. And it was just a beautiful event, because we got to celebrate our party, we got to celebrate each other, and we got to celebrate Gertrude, because she had just gone complete circle. Gertrude and Don Preby were my mentors. They were great folks. Gertrude was, she was someone that you could always count on. She was always there for you, and she was always there for the cause. But besides that, one thing about Gertrude is she also had a sense of humor. At least I call it a sense of humor. Because when her husband, Jerry, passed away, and I always took my husband to a lot of events, and Gertrude, a little mischievous person that she was, she would say to my husband, she would say, "Joe, you're so good looking. Why don't you leave Edwina and we'll run off together?" and naturally, Joe was really thrilled with that. Because, any man likes to hear that. And so they were, anytime we were at whatever event, we always all sat together because Joe had to sit with Gertrude. No question about it. And so one time Joe said, I'm gonna grow a beard. And I said, guess who's not getting kissed in this house? But anyway, he said, just for 6 months. So 2 months after he had, he had a 2-month-old beard, we ran into Gertrude. And Gertrude looked at him. She told him in no uncertain terms, no swear words, but close, that she did not like that beard and did not approve of that beard. She said, "Joe, how dare you do that?" She said, "You're such a good-looking man. Why would you want to grow a beard?" And Joe was very embarrassed. But the next morning, when he came in the kitchen, he was clean shaven. I said, I can't believe it. What,
What power she had.
yeah, we live together, and yet, Gertrude has power and I don't. But that was Gertrude. She had a lot of influence on everyone. It was good influence, personal connections with people. She will be loved, she will be missed, and we will always remember her. Not only every time we look around Richfield and say, Gertrude was involved here, and she made this happen, and she promoted this person, and whatever. She's always going to be alive in this city. When I received the Richfield Citizen of the Year Award in 2008, I acknowledged Gertrude and Don Preby. And I acknowledged them proudly. And I said that night, there's no way in hell that I would be here were it not for these two people. Gertrude made my life so rich. And Ulrich family, just know this, that we share in your grief, and we say, God bless you, and you've lost a great mom, and we've lost a great friend, and may she rest in peace.
Mike, I know you wanted to say something.
Sure. Well, Councilmember Garcia, thank you for just a beautiful tribute. I just wanted to share one meeting that I had with Gertrude that, just as you mentioned, when I decided I was going to run for the city council, just about everybody, the first thing they said is, you go meet with Gertrude. That's what I did. And we had breakfast for about an hour and a half, and I'll never forget it. For most of the breakfast, I just listened to Gertrude talk about her experience and her history in Richfield, and she just sort of leaned back and with just such a joy talked about her experience running for office and shepherding around campaigns, running Mike Freeman's first campaigns, all the while providing pointers and advice along the way. And it was just such an active joy of politics and of people. And she was direct and clear in her advice. She told me that she liked me, but she thought that I was maybe a bit too modest, that if you got a good idea, you need to get out there and you need to talk about it and tell people about it. And based on what I've heard from everybody else, that's kind of how Gertrude went about her business. She wasn't afraid to show leadership on issues that were important to her and to the city and to everyone's benefit. And just one more bit of advice that she shared that I won't forget. Months later, when I was door knocking, I knocked on Gertrude's door, and she came to the door and flashed her smile, and we talked about how the campaign was going, and she gave a few bits of advice here and there. But then, as I was talking, she cut me off, and with a smile, she said, "You know, you're never supposed to spend 10 minutes at the door with someone who's already going to vote for you. You need to go talk to the next person." And I said, yes, Gertrude, and I moved on to the next door. And it just seemed to be her nature to be a mentor to people. If she had spent 10 minutes with them, or a lifetime. And I'll never forget the time I've spent with Gertrude. And as you said, Councilmember Garcia, her legacy and her work is going to be felt through this city for so much longer to come.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I knew her when I was on patrol, and boy, you should know where Gertrude's house is if you were on patrol. She often would come out when I was riding a motorcycle and say hi, and then when I decided to run for election, she seeked me out, and she said, "Okay, what are you going to do?" I mean, if you didn't go to her first, she came after you. So, and I know that she was a very strong lady and very, convincing and convicted in her thoughts and that, but I considered her a very stable person in our community. And anything happening on Oak Grove Boulevard, you better let Gertrude know, or you could ask her, she'd tell you. So I really appreciated her, and she's going to be well missed. So.
I never met Gertrude personally, and based on Edwina's loving eulogy and what I'm hearing, it's obviously my loss.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say that my introduction was when Gertrude first ran for council member, and I knew who she was, and I had visited the Rotary a couple times and got to know her more. But then when I had pushed my way into the door of Edwina's house and said, "You have to run my campaign, you have to run my campaign, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how to run a campaign." She says, "Okay, you have to go see Gertrude, though." So down in the basement of Gertrude's house, I was down there many a night while she just riveted me with question after question of how to debate. And then she'd tell me, "Oh, you can't answer that question that way. Don't do that. No, go back again." And I spent many a night down in her basement doing that, and also writing some of my first speeches and stuff with Gertrude, and she'd look this over and says, "Oh, you got to start over. This is never going to do." But she was a great mentor, and Edwina was right to push me in her way. And so when I came up to those debates and when I first spoke, I was polished, and I was ready to go. And I knew how to answer all those questions because of that. She's everywhere. She was everywhere. We saw her at the Wood Lake Fowl Dinner, and we saw her through 4th of July, and we saw her at the Rotary functions, and we saw her at all the kinds of functions that would happen around the community for fundraisers. She was everywhere and went around with her sidekick a lot in the back there. I see Margaret Severe is with us today. Thank you, Margaret. She was a great lady, and she was your friend, too. And Margaret went around with her so many places. We were used to seeing them together. And always hearing the stories of her children. She was so proud of every one of you and the accomplishments, and we all know them all. What a great mom you had, who always sang your accolades. But she was the mother of Richfield, too, and we will so ever miss her thank you for being here. And we're happy to pay tribute to someone so great in our community. Did you want to say anything at all, Ted? Did you want to come say anything? Yeah, she'll be missed. I guess we thought we would have her forever, and we won't. We only wish that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate that.
You know, I'm just wondering if maybe Mr. Devich would want to say something about Gertrude too, because I know that he and Gertrude, you know, were famously good friends, and I'm sure that she gave you some advice once in a while, Mr. Devich.
Yes, Councilmember, that's true. I had a lot of conversations with Gertrude. I think I think one that I will never forget was this was many years ago, and as a staff person would have it sometimes, I would lament over what was going to happen during an election. And I was having breakfast with Gertrude one morning at the old VFW, and I remember going through and I was probably just kind of whining about something. She listened for a little while, and then she gave me that stern look, and she said, "Steve, don't borrow trouble." That was the end of that. It's like, end of story. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I said, "Oh, okay." Yeah. Yes, I had a lot of discussions with her. She was a very nice lady who always took the time to sit and talk with you if you gave her the opportunity.
Okay, it's hard to move on from that. That's a great thing, and I wish you the best as you go through your grief with the family and everything. So, and I know that stuff will be up online for those who would like to attend the services. It'll be up soon. Thank you. We're going to move on to
Madam Mayor, can I have just a moment? I hate to be the obituary type person, but we also had a passing of a police sergeant that I used to work with for many years, Jim Wright, known as Jimmy. He started in 1968, and they say that that was his best year. He remembered his first rookie year saving a choking child. And a lot of times in police work, if you can do that your first year, you'll stay in it. He was born in 1944. Unfortunately, his dad also died, killed in action in 1844, so I don't think he ever did see his dad. He once ran for Hennepin County Sheriff. He was, again, like I said, a police sergeant with the city of Richfield, and also was involved in, after he retired here, went to the state and was a Minnesota Medicare fraud investigator. Also did a lot of work with the couple of the schools where he was an instructor. His service will be held on Wednesday, May 6th. It's a graveside service, 10:30 at Fort Snelling. If you're wishing to attend, you're supposed to be in aisle number 4 at 10:20, and then they'll have an informal gathering after that at the 5-8 Club. And his famous words, or his quote, is, "Eat your ice cream before it melts."
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I enjoyed ice cream. That's a great thing. Moving on with council discussion, we have some discussion regarding our 4th of July. JT, or who's coming up for 4th of July? Is anybody going to be announcing the 4th of July?
I think the issue with 4th of July was the,
Or participation in the parade? We're going to talk about
Yes.
it too, though?
yeah,
Okay. Just
Participation in the
that's all
parade,
we're going to
yeah.
talk about? Okay. I'd also like to talk about volunteers, though, because the 4th of July always has been looking for volunteers through this. And if you get up on the website and Google the 4th of July page for Richfield, you can find that. And lots of times there's very small opportunities to volunteer for that, just even a couple of hours throughout the 3 to 4 day participation. So it's a great, great celebration here. And regarding the participation, council members, we have participated every year, and
Yep.
is everybody in agreement? And are you going to take your electric?
Yes, I can
Car?
bring the cart where it
Okay.
holds a lot of candy.
All right, a lot of candy. We always give out a lot of candy. So we'll have some. I may have an old-fashioned automobile. I don't know by then. I'm going to see. So I'll be riding maybe with that. So, and I usually walk part of the parade anyway, because I go say hi to a lot of people. So I'm in and out of a vehicle. So I should get a driver. So I guess we're participating. We don't need a float. Okay. And I know that I've talked to the folks about electric car again, or something. They said yes.
Good,
So
good.
we'll have an extra vehicle if we need it, just for people to pop in and sit and get water. And thank you for you always do that too. Thank you for providing
Well, we
water
should
and
say
stuff.
thank you to Wade Brent, or is it Brent Wade?
Brent Wade, for
Yeah.
the Mitsubishi.
Yeah, Mitsubishi
Dealer.
dealer who's always provided a car.
Yeah, that's what.
And he's this type of guy that's got two names that, or I have problems with what's his first name and last name, so I call him Brent Wade or Wade Brent.
Okay. Also, I would like to know if we have information around the Memorial Day celebration that's coming up. I know that it's very well attended in Richfield, and it's usually a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I was just up at the memorial this past weekend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, we have plans for a great Memorial Day celebration on May 25th, 2:00 p.m. out at our site. The focus of this year's ceremony will be Fred A. Babcock, and we're going to honor him, a World War II veteran and a Richfield police officer that was shot and killed in the line of duty. And our featured speakers will be Floyd Roman, who is his partner, and also a World War II veteran. And he'll be telling stories of Fred Babcock, and with him doing that will be our police chief and public safety director, Jay Hanthorn. So those are our two speakers. We're also unveiling the drinking fountain and a bench that we're installing this spring. So there'll be a lot more information. I don't have a flyer ready. We haven't done it quite yet. So it's a good month off here. So there will be more coming on this event for you in the next couple meetings.
Yeah, and I heard that the VFW is thinking, or maybe the American Legion, of a luncheon before or something. Possibility, one of them.
We're
Service
actually
clubs.
looking to do that at the VFW this year to kind of
Okay.
switch off. And
Okay.
so we'll have details of that at the next meeting. They're still doing their planning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the update. Other hats off to hometown hits. Pat, I'll start with you. Pat Elliott, anything?
You know, given the loss of our Public Works Director and the beautiful eulogy for Gertrude, I don't really think I want to change the tenor.
Okay. Edwina, do you have a list?
Well, no, I didn't bring my list, darn it. But I do want to say that the mayor and I attended the fall dinner, and it was enjoyable as always. You know, great food. Oh, my steak was just so perfect. And but I think one of the things that we always have a speaker, and this year we had Ellen Topsenhofer, JT's daughter. And I was, Debbie and I were talking, and we said, she did all of that without any notes. I mean, this is a real professional who was able to, I think, teach us and explain to us really kind of the beauty of bees and the urgency of the bee population too. So I think that Jim, you should be extremely proud of your daughter, and we really appreciate that she came all the way from Oregon to speak to us, and I really commend her on her work because she's really dedicated and she knows her stuff. So please convey that to her.
Thank you. Council member?
I just had one item, just to highlight someone in Richfield who, there was a story on Fox 9 about an Andrew Grabow who's over in actually Nepal right now, and he's safe. He was actually near Mount Everest a day before the horrible earthquake, and he's actually still there and helping prepare meals and food for folks that are dealing with just obviously that horrible tragedy. And I think I saw today that the death toll could be upwards of 10,000, and so just awful. But wanted to recognize Andrew for his work there in Nepal, and mention that the Association of Nepalis in Minnesota is accepting donations, and their website is simply anmn.org, and they're having some success raising some money, and I think that's a good organization if folks want to donate to a good cause, to a terrible situation.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. All our hearts go out to those folks and their families. Terrible tragedies. Councilmember Fitzhenry.
One last item, if you care to hear about Mac Noise, we have a meeting right behind us. It's a public input meeting. I'm not sure how much longer it'll be going on, but it's right behind us. And every so often, Mac has these public input meetings so people can actually do face-to-face with the Mac to discuss noise, traffic patterns, and that's going on right now. And we were glad to host it this year, or tonight. So.
Yes, and I want to thank you because you're always such a great advocate for Richfield. You're always there making sure that, Richfield's voice is heard, and that when they suggest things that would impact us greatly, and more so than other communities, you make sure that they know that. I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
It's a real great voice for us. I wanted to follow up on the bees keeping because I thought that was so timely. There's so much information going around. There's also educational classes on how you can start to be a beekeeper, and there was a beekeeping kit there. Somebody got the beekeeping kit. I don't know who got that at the fall dinner. So that was really cool. But we are looking at our ordinances here in Richfield to become bee-friendly. And it's not that we necessarily have ever been against it. We haven't, but these are newer things that are coming up and around. And I know that Bee's Knees is working with Lake Winds Co-op, and they will probably be the first to bring in beehives into the city for that kind of look. And they actually sell the honey by zip code, because different zip codes have different tastes depending on what the bees have to eat. And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens with that. And in keeping up with just pollinators in general, pollinators are not just bees. There are all kinds of bugs and insects, believe it or not. In the peonies and everything, we see the ants who pollinate, and we also know that hummingbirds and butterflies also do that. So, of course, I want to be a part of this. I'm a real environmentalist. And so I had to call up the city manager and ask him, I said, I want to have monarch butterflies in the yard, but you have to have milkweed, and milkweed is a noxious weed. And I said, am I going to get cited as the mayor if I plant milkweed in there in the garden? I need to know this before I do that this spring. So he was looking up this thing, and he says, no, if it's in a cultivated garden, you can put some of those kinds of things in your garden. It's when it becomes weeds throughout your yard that it's a problem. So for those of us who want to be pollinator friendly, and you want to put in some of those weeds for those, because that's the only place that monarchs lay their eggs is milkweed. You can plant those kinds of things. Just be mindful that you can't have them throughout the entire yard. You need to have them in a cultivated, landscaped garden. So I want to thank the city manager for that, because I didn't certainly want to get cited. I can see that all over the paper now. Mayor gets cited for noxious weeds in her yard. So that doesn't usually go over well. Any other items for the council discussion? It's been a lot to talk about this evening. We'll go to the consent calendar. City manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council.
I guess I have to ask for approval of the agenda first,
Oh.
sorry. Approval of the agenda as it stands?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now the consent calendar.
All right, thank you. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. And once those items have been approved, the individual items and their recommended actions have also been approved. No further City Council action on these items would be necessary. There are 4 items on tonight's consent calendar, beginning with item A, consideration of the approval of setting a public hearing to be held on May 26, 2015 for the consideration of the issuance of a new on-sale intoxicating liquor and Sunday liquor license for Thompson's Fireside Pizza Incorporated, doing business as Fireside Pizza, located at 6736 Penn Avenue South. Item B is consideration of the approval of accepting the quotation of $74,000 to replace play equipment at Garfield Park from Midwest Playscapes and authorize the Recreation Services Director to execute the quotation. Item C, consideration of the approval of the resolution to adjust the city's municipal state aid streets network. And finally, item D, consideration of the approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a statewide health improvement program reimbursement grant in the amount of $1,500 for the purchase of a traffic count video camera. And that would conclude tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the calendar.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, I just wanted to let folks know that the Garfield Park, the commission did its usual good job.
Yeah.
And I think JT is, you know, he really makes sure that the public gets to know what's going on and solicits comments from them.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, too, I drove by Fireside Pizza, and I can see they're renovating the entire building. It's amazing. This will be something very worthwhile and very nice when it gets done. We're really excited about that. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott, you have
Thank you,
item
Your
7.
Honor. This item is a consideration of request for a resolution for a comprehensive plan amendment and second reading of an ordinance regarding rezoning and a resolution for a final developmental plan, conditional use permit for a planned unit development that would allow construction of a new Audi car dealership along Interstate 494. And I want to congratulate staff. The executive summary is as long as I've ever seen. So hold on. International Auto Groups has entered into a purchase agreement for the properties located at 1400, 1420, and 1500 78th Street East and 7711 17th Avenue. I'm assuming that is. It can't be 7th Avenue. There is no 7th Avenue in Richfield.
Yeah, there's not. No.
The applicant proposes to combine the parcels, demolish the existing structures, and construct a new $13 million three-story Audi car dealership and separate parking ramp. The applicant is requesting a change to the city's comprehensive plan and zoning designations in order to make this possible. Regulations in the I-494 corridor were established in order to provide for and take advantage of opportunities that the visibility along the interstate could provide. Opportunities include an increased and diversified tax base and increased employment. The corridor plan established guiding principles that were intended to create an attractive, dense, walkable, and green edge along the city's southern boundary. As part of the 2005 corridor planning study, market consultants suggested that retail alone in Richfield's I-494 corridor would be difficult to sustain due to competition from the Mall of America, Southdale Mall, and existing businesses on the south side of the interstate. Sites designated as regional commercial office were reduced to those areas near existing or anticipated major transportation access points: Penn Avenue, Lyndale Avenue, Portland Avenue, and immediately adjacent to an anticipated 77th Street underpass. The properties in question are 1 block east of a regionally designated area. The proposed project is substantially compliant with city requirements. Only minor deviations have been requested. The project includes buildings that provide attractive views from both 77th Street and the freeway and meet the siting and design requirements of the code. The main building fronts on and provides direct access from 77th Street, avoids large blank walls, and utilizes high-quality building materials. The proposal also addresses the significant pedestrian and landscaping desires expressed by the code and comprehensive plan, though the inclusion of quasi-public amenities like sidewalks on all 4 sides of the property and a more than 11,000 square foot plaza and landscaped area. The proposal also includes 4 electric vehicle charging stations that will be available to the public. On-site pervious area will more than double and will exceed minimum requirements, a rare occurrence for a commercial development. The applicant has requested a phased approach to site build-out in order to better evaluate the size of the parking ramp. At a minimum, the applicant will construct a two-story ramp. However, based on inventory and service needs, this could be increased to 4 stories. The city has been approached by a team of development representatives who would like to be the, quote, master developers, end quote, in this particular corridor of the city. Development team representatives Dean DeVolis and Teresa Carr have stated that the proposed Audi dealership would be compatible with their plans. A public hearing to consider the proposal was held before the Planning Commission on March 23rd. Notice of the public hearing was sent to the surrounding properties, including the individual apartments in the building immediately adjacent to the site and the single-family properties north of the 77th Street sound wall. No members of the public attended the hearing or have submitted comments related to the proposal, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval of all the recommended actions. Staff, do you have some comments you'd like to add or some additional information you can pass on?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Elliott. The only thing I would add is at the study session on this topic several months ago, we talked about the potential tax revenues. And a question had come up, well, what if the site were to be used as the comprehensive plan currently designates it? So we have put together a chart that's in the packet showing what the taxes from Audi would be versus what if you were to take that parcel and say half of it's going to be developed as apartments and half of it as office. And just by the nature of tax class rates in Minnesota, the housing and the apartments would be taxed at a lower level. So just from a purely tax revenue standpoint, the Audi, based on assumptions we've made, would appear to be as good or better than what would be anticipated in the comprehensive plan.
Council discussion, please.
Well, I thought we had a good work session earlier, and we might give them a heads up that they might want to hold off on what their address is, because we're talking about renaming 77th Street. That might reflect more of what's happening there, so that's just a heads up I'd like to say. So,
I want to say something about the sustainability of this. When we talked about those kinds of questions, when we were in the study session, we talked about LED lighting, and we also talked about a lot more green space than is usual in a project, but also the jobs that you will produce that are very high-end paying jobs. These are not minimum wage jobs for the most part. These are auto mechanics, and hopefully some from our own community will be working there. So we look forward to that. I'm always for that. One caveat I'll just mention to you though is you are coming into a city in a residential area too, and I know we'll have as good a relationship with you do as we do the existing car dealerships. As you expand and you go up, your lights will impact neighborhoods, and please be mindful of how you put them, where you put them, and that you turn them off at night. That's just one of the big things, and it's about being neighborly here, and you will get accolades and people will come into your shop because you do that. So that's one of the things I think will help the neighborhood feel. Everybody knows everybody here, and when people move in Richfield, they move to another house in Richfield. So everybody knows everybody here. So it's a great community, and we'll look forward to seeing as you progress down the road here. Comment?
Sure, I'll just comment on, I think, the thoughtful nature to some of how this really fits into this corridor, and I think it's a corridor that we expect to look very different a decade from now, and I think this can fit here, and we just need to be really mindful going forward about an area of the city that I think we expect can really blossom, and I think this works.
Any other comments?
I would just say that after the Planning Commission, I spoke to the members of the Audi team and told them how excited I was about them coming to the city and serving to brand and bring the first real development east of 12th Avenue that's going to be a larger impact area on Richfield, and that I thought the product that they will be selling there and everything else creates a brand that we want to be associated with the corridor and associated with the underpass and associated with that area of Richfield, and I'm excited about their coming.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by, excuse me?
I haven't moved anything.
Oh, you haven't, that's right, you can make each motion. Go ahead.
And I
We have to do this by each one of those?
I think I'm going to do them individually.
Go ahead.
So at this time, I would move to approve the resolution authorizing a comprehensive plan amendment, changing the designation of 1400, 1420, and 1500 78th Street and 7711 14th Avenue from high-density residential office to regional commercial.
Second? Other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
I would
Yes, sir.
also move to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending Appendix 1 to the Richfield City Code by rezoning 1400, 1420, and 1500 78th Street East and 7711 14th Avenue from mixed-use community to planned mixed use.
Second.
A discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is unanimous.
And lastly, I would move to approve the resolution authorizing a planned unit development, conditional use permit, and final development plan to construct a multi-story automobile dealership and parking ramp at 1400, 1420, and 1500 78th Street East and 7711 14th Avenue.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I see our friends are here from the Audi dealership. Would you like to say anything at all for a few minutes before we move on to the next item?
Thank you. I'm Ralph Amaro. I'm the president of the International Auto Group. I'm here with my son Francis, my partner, and along with our architect, Dave Phillip. Thank you. The city has been very passionate to work with. I can see that tonight. And the city staff has been outstanding to work with, so I thank you for your time tonight. I thank you for your approval, and I think that we will be a great addition to the city. We will be a great partner with the city, and I think we'll add some quality to it as well.
Good.
Thank you for your time. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming tonight. Thank you. Councilmember Howard.
So I have consideration of the second reading of an ordinance amending the city code and a resolution for an amendment to a conditional use permit for Richfield High School. The proposed code amendment would conditionally permit school-based health centers as accessory uses within currently operating schools. A school-based health center is proposed for Richfield High School. Approval of an amendment to the existing conditional use permit is required. Richfield Public Schools has requested a text amendment to the zoning code that would allow school-based health centers within public and/or private schools. The proposed ordinance would conditionally permit school-based health centers as an accessory or subordinate use to existing schools so long as certain conditions related to size, hours of operation, parking, and signage are met. The Richfield School District is proposing to develop a 2,200 square foot health center at Richfield High School. The proposed plan meets all of the proposed conditions of the ordinance. 5 staff members are anticipated during peak periods, and 9 additional parking stalls shall be added to the parking lot immediately adjacent to the health center. Staff recommends an alternate design to accommodate this additional parking, a design that would involve only restriping of the existing lot as opposed to paving of additional area. Anticipated hours of operations for this health center are from noon to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And so I don't know if staff has any additional comments on this, or if
You know, I just want to say that after hearing our superintendent of schools present that keeping our kids in school and showing up is a real important part, and making sure they're healthy so they do show up is another big piece. This will make our school better. This is a great idea, and I'm really grateful for those organizations nonprofits who've come here and make this possible for the school.
Yeah, Madam Mayor,
Please.
I couldn't agree more, and this seems like a no-brainer. We just know that educating our kids doesn't just happen right in the classroom. It takes a holistic approach. It takes a community, and this is just one way where we can help our students improve achievement, and it's absolutely the right kind of thing for our students and for our community.
I entertain your motions.
So I have 3 motions. First, approve the second reading of an ordinance amending the Richfield City Code to allow accessory school-based health centers as a conditional use.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing summary publication of an ordinance amendment to allow accessory school-based health centers as a conditional use.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And lastly, a motion to approve the resolution approving an amendment to a conditional use permit at 7001 Harriet Avenue, that's Richfield High School, to allow a school-based health center.
Second.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing that. Hopefully we'll have a ribbon cutting over there.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, Very nice. Thank you very much. Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the fun part. We get to talk about money. City staff, the item under consideration is approving the contract with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215, for the contract period of January 1, 2015 through December 31st, 2015, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. City staff has completed labor negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215. This is the last of 4 union contracts settled for 2015, and the provision of the one-year contract cover all 25 employees represented in this unit. The tentative settlement provides a wage adjustment of 2.25%, effective the first full pay period of January 2015. It also provides a $60 a month increase to the employer health insurance contribution and a $6 per month increase to the employer contribution for single dental insurance coverage. One other provision of the tentative agreement includes a language change to the sick leave provision to match Minnesota statute 181.941 and 181.944. And I want to thank Pam for finishing these up. We usually, before, used to see these happen in June, and we're going to be done by the end of April.
Wow, nice.
That is great. I don't know if she has any more comments she wants to put forth, or...
Well, Madam Mayor and council members, no, we're just very pleased to have the final contract wrapped up for this year. And, you know, every union, you have some different issues that you discuss, but, you know, we have very good relationship with each union and very good discussions. And so the result with this group is we've got a tentative agreement pending your approval.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt the resolution approving the provision of the 2015 labor agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215 bargaining unit, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Howard, you're up again.
In January 2015, the City Council made several appointments to various city advisory commissions. However, there continue to be some vacancies following these appointments. The City Council continues to accept commission applications and interviews all applicants. Applications were received at a special City Council meeting. Applications were received and a special City Council meeting was scheduled on April 28th, 2015, earlier tonight, to conduct interviews. And so I've got the list of folks we interviewed, and again, it's a range of people who have been in the community for a while, and some people that are just now getting involved, but everybody who we interviewed has a real interest in serving, so that was very good. We have Ryan Ridgely, appointed to the Advisory Board of Health for a term expiring on January 31st, 2018. Seth Rima, on the Community Services Commission for a term expiring on January 31st, 2018. Joanne Boris on the Friendship City Commission for a term expiring on January 31st, 2017. Kirsten Klawinski on the Human Rights Commission for a term expiring on January 31st, 2018. And Swapnil Shrestha, who will serve as our Youth Commissioner on the Human Rights Commission for a term expiring on August 28th, 2015.
I'll second the motion. Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Councilmember, are there other openings yet?
There are indeed, and it's the Arts Commission that we'll put out the call for. We have several openings on the Arts Commission, and so if you're interested in serving on that commission, please apply. And it's one that where there's interaction with several of the other commissions and the work in the city as well. You know, even if art isn't your first, if you're not necessarily the top artist yourself, still join this commission and serve.
If you enjoy, even if you enjoy art,
Mhm.
yeah.
If you can enjoy looking at art versus producing
Yes.
it, yeah, right.
Yeah, we need all kinds of folks on that commission. Thank you. City Manager's report.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, just two quick things I want to report on. First of all, the TIF extension bill that we were talking about, and that is so vital on the east side of town for the Cedar Avenue TIF district area, is included both in the House omnibus tax bill at this point in time and the Senate. And so hopefully that'll move along, and we will get our 10-year extension, which is going to make it a lot easier to get that redevelopment going in Cedar Point Phase 2. And the other thing is that folks might have seen this, but the Comcast deal to buy Time Warner is officially over, dead. And, we'd started the process here because it was going to be a transition from, because Comcast was going to have to give up a number of their subscribers, and that would have included the entire Twin Cities area, in fact, the entire state of Minnesota. And so we would have gone to a new company called Great Lands, and all that's done, and there's no further action that the city of Richfield has to take. That just goes away. And that would conclude my report.
That's neat. Very nice. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second? Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Claims and payroll. Seeing no further action, I call a meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.